The Covid-19-stricken Ruby Princess cruise ship has finally docked in New South Wales, where sick crew are being treated on board and the more serious cases transferred to hospital. 200 of the 1,400 crew are said to be showing symptoms of coronavirus. The Ruby Princess cruise is Australia's single biggest source of coronavirus, with more than 600 cases linked to the ship. It also accounts for about 1/6 of Australia's COVID-19 death toll, including a New Zealand-born woman. It's now the subject of a criminal investigation and a lawsuit, with conflicting reports about whether passengers who were likely to be ill were knowingly allowed to disembark in Sydney. Di Walker of Hawke's Bay and her husband Robert were in a tour group of 10. 6 of that group have since tested positive for the virus. Di says she was never told of any issue on board the ship, not even a rumour of illness, and certainly she had no idea she was at risk of COVID-19.
No, there was no mention of anything on the boat. And when we were all disembarking, we were all told that we had to, because we were coming in off the ship, we had to self-isolate for 14 days.
Can you recall what they said to you to do exactly when they talked about self-isolation? What kind of instructions did they give you as to what that meant?
To either go home and self-isolate there, or for the international travellers, go to your hotel or your accommodation and self-isolate until your flight home, and then you can fly home.
So how long did you end up staying in Sydney?
4 days.
In the hotel?
Yes.
And then you got on a plane back to New Zealand?
Yes.
And were there any precautions that they suggested you take on the plane?
No. Everyone on the plane was, when we came off the plane, they took our temperature. Everyone's temperature was taken. And then we were carried on through customs, and then we were taken aside because we had been on the Ruby Princess. So they took us to a separate area and asked us a few questions and took our temperatures again, and then said we were okay to go.
Di, do you remember what date you came off the ship?
The 19th.
Of March?
Yeah.
So the New South Wales Health Authority has confirmed that there were 104 people with acute respiratory infections on the Ruby Princess before it docked in Sydney. What do you think of that?
I was surprised, because we didn't know anything about that.
What do you make of the fact that there is class action going to be taken against the Ruby Princess cruise ship owners?
It's a bit surprised about that. And then when they first, when it was first announced, because it's the first thing we heard, there were 3 Australian passengers and 1 crew member that was found to be positive with COVID-19. But they didn't say how those people got the virus. So, yeah, that was the only thing. I wondered how, because I know they had been, there were certain criteria before we got on the ship. There was a big delay boarding the ship. Part of that, they said, was due to the cleaning process after the last cruise.
Were you health checked, Di, before you got onto the ship?
No, they had a questionnaire. They asked you questions if you'd travelled in the areas like China and stuff, and did you have a temperature, did you have a fever, did you have a cough, and blah, blah, blah. But, and then there was a paper that you had to answer these questions and hand that paper in. But there wasn't any physical checks as such when we boarded.
And that's Di Walker, who's been diagnosed with COVID-19 after taking a cruise on the Ruby Princess.